Never underestimate subtle. Subtle is the purpose of most spiritual paths. Spiritual is subtle. Subtle energies, hooking up to those requires a remarkable amount of tuning oneself. Mind, body, spirit, vibration. You may wonder why mantras are so effective when you're just saying the same thing again and again and again. When you're saying Om Kling Kali Kiye Namaha. If you read the definition, it says, okay, that's what it means. Why do I have to say it again and again and again? Or when you're listening to Mongolian throat singing, you might wonder, they're not even saying anything, even in their own language most of the time. It's just vibration. Why is this significant? How does it help? What does it do? Does it do anything? Is it just madness? It's not just madness. It's about tuning oneself to a certain vibration. Tuning oneself to a certain activity, focusing oneself into an activity that on paper or by itself or from a third party, it might look completely useless and completely foreign, strange. Foreign to how we think. We think in words. We don't think in vibrations. We don't think in ohms and ahms and we don't think in those things. We think in words. So a lot of the time when we're tuning ourselves, it's our mind wanders. It doesn't know how to do it initially. It doesn't know how to become just emptiness or become a certain vibration, absent of thought or thought under will, you could say. But these subtle practices are hugely important. So tuning oneself to subtle energies, it doesn't really matter what kind of spirit or God or being or daemon, whatever it is, you're going to have to tune yourself to a more subtle vibration. See, the reason why this material realm looks so empty and our senses are extremely flawed. We know that there's oxygen around us. We can't even see that. But the reason why space looks so empty, first of all, it's not really, and why other realms are more dense. There's more stuff. We're kind of at the outlier of the source. We're at the edge, material realm. We're not at the absolute edge, but there's tremendous power in being manifested in this way. It takes a whole lot of trust and a whole lot of working from lifetime to lifetime, from matter itself to life, then all the way to human beings. The consciousness and the soul itself, it requires so much work, so much testing, so much being and trial and error to get to this point. And it requires a certain amount of trust to be here. If we were purely chaotic, we couldn't manifest. We couldn't become a human being. They're very negative entities that they're so low in how the universe trusts them and what they would do if they had like a human body, that they can only come into this realm in the form of a virus, something as simple as that. Their work has led them in a different direction. And it's not necessarily up and down, it's more out and in. But the out can be so strange and chaotic and fruitless based on choice that it's a different kind of outside. Mixing analogies here, making it confusing. But needless to say, material realm is, we're not as close to the source as we could be, but we have a tremendous amount of choice. We have a mind that we can control. There's plenty of entities that cannot control what they think because they just are that. Does a fire control itself, or does it just burn? We can choose if we burn, we save, if we build, we destroy. We have choice. We have worked ourselves into this position of choice. And we get attached to how much choice we can have, and we start behaving more like animals than our human potential. We get attached to excitement in music, in food. How many of us eat over 50% of the time more for fun than for providing health to our mind, body, and spirit? How many of us listen to music to get excited? rather than, in kind of riding that excitement or riding those memories of past excitement, rather than allowing some kind of more spiritual music to tune us, or us tuning into that, however you want to look at it. You'll find there's ways to become more subtle. I mean, a really basic way that nobody really wants to do is like not eating meat. It's hard to reprogram meat into becoming us. It makes us more agitated, hard to become subtle. Staying away from alcohol and drugs. Even caffeine can be a drug, one that I'm guilty of. That increases rajas in us, that restlessness between lethargy and purity. Purity is closer to, it's going closer to source, but it's still a boat that you leave on the shore when you travel beyond. But it's a good boat. Lethargy doesn't get you anywhere. A lot of the time, rajas will turn you in a circle, or you'll go back and forth. There's a whole lot of rajas on this planet Earth. We're one of the planets that has a lot of rajasic energy, restless energy. So everything does seem duality and in between, because that's kind of what this planet is. And there's all kinds of galaxies and worlds in this one universe. One universe. There's many universes in this one universe that are sattvic, tamasic, rajasic, tamasic realms. I mean, you could say galaxies or worlds in this one universe. On these planets, all the plant life is could be carnivorous and poisonous, and the people there constantly, they just love darkness and delusion. Their gods are all darker in the truer sense, not in the Kali sense. She's actually light, but in the truer sense, where you sacrifice and harm others as an offering. But in this world, planet Earth, becoming more subtle also involves, being willing to meditate, another thing nobody really wants to do. And I've fallen off my practice here and there for sure. But it's all about feeling the subtler happenings within yourself. Even with your mind to begin with. There's all kinds of thoughts underneath thoughts that are happening. People, they do actions, they do things, and they don't even know why they're doing it, because they don't understand what's happening in the thoughts beneath the thoughts. And getting down to that level and figuring out what's happening there will provide you with a lot more clarity. Subtle is clear. The more subtle you become, the more easily you will glide through life. The more effectively you will find solutions to your troubles. Suffering never seeks. I got that from Sadhguru, by the way. I didn't make that up. Suffering never seeks, though. If you're suffering, you're in a box, or you're in a circle, you're in a cycle, and you don't seek, because suffering perpetuates itself. Otherwise, it would be pain, momentary pain, rather than continuous suffering. And suffering is very, very not subtle. So if we're attuned to that, if we're caught up in one of those boxes or cycles or circles, however you want to look at it, then we can't help but continue to suffer. Subtle is clarity. Subtle is not suffering. Now, there might be beings that are very subtle that are negative, that if you tune yourself to, they themselves are subtle. But a lot of those negative beings, they can't get here, so they feed off of getting us to become less subtle, more chaotic, more troublesome to the world around us and other people. And they feed off of that energy like little vampire thingies. Vampire thingies. I did make that one up. Because they don't have the right, they don't have the trust from the universe, not necessarily from a guy on a chair looking down, a throne looking down, judging these beings, but they go to realms that can more properly contain and sustain them, and to where their kind is. Rivers all flow back to, that's a bad analogy, but they all flow back to the source, but you are drawn into births or realms or even being around people that you are alike or akin to. And if you feel like you're very spiritual and you haven't found spiritual people, you might need to become a little bit more subtle to find clarity, and to end up allowing that clarity of mind, that clearness of the water, for you to see your true situation. Most people do not know where they are at spiritually. And it's that confusion that makes life harder. And spirituality seems to just single us out rather than being something that helps us, because there's a lack of clarity. We don't know where we are. We don't know where we're at on the path or what the path is. And we get frustrated because we feel like we can see the mountain peak, but we just can't get through the valley to get there. We keep on getting lost. Become more subtle, and clarity will be a far more comfortable place to be in. And as subtle is non-attachment. You'll have to cut back on desire, but non-attachment. Desire is never satisfied. Desire is never happy. The more intense it is, the less happiness can exist within you, because there's only so much space for different forces and elements or vibrations within yourself. A healthy bird, mentally, physically, and spiritually, will go to where he can more properly make a nest, and that's safer. And if that bird is, we're thinking of it as a good spirit or a good God or some kind of good energy, it's going to go where it can be. And if it can't be within us, it's not going to be within us. That's to do with vibration as well, as I'm alluding to. Become more subtle. Attune yourself to subtle energies by becoming a more subtle person. Instead of listening to music that's very exciting, listen to music that's very calming. Be calmer. Try to reach calmness. Do not fret over ideas or thoughts that you cannot change. And a lot of the time, in order to change, we have to get out of a mental space that those thoughts thrive in, which is a continuation of suffering and the propagation of suffering. And a lot of these thoughts are a part of that cycle. Become more subtle. Try to take in media, whether it be TV shows or movies, or maybe less of that. But take in media that is calming, that's beneficial, that sparks your intellect. A lot of the time, the intellect, when used properly, can be a quite spiritual tool. If you're taking in information looking for solutions, rather than looking for, there's always this trick of everything's a lie, here's how it is. And there's a lot of excitement in that. And there's a whole lot of people getting obsessed with how they think things are and how they think everybody else is asleep, and they get frustrated, and they go to media that frustrates them, and they go around in a circle frustrated. And they become more frustrated at the world when they really should be frustrated at themselves. And maybe deep down they know they're frustrated at themselves, but they're unwilling to recognize that and enter into a new mental space, a mental way of being that is more beneficial. Go towards media that's more beneficial for you intellectually and spiritually. Books that are more beneficial. And if you take in entertainment, try to mitigate the restlessness and the darkness of the entertainment that you take in. There's a reason why some people are obsessed with movies that seem really negative and gross, and they just love them for some reason. It's because that's what they've attuned themselves to, and they feel more in their element. But happiness can't exist there. And in the end, it's kind of, like a poison a lot of the time, this darkness. So, positive mind, positive attitude, but change things that you do in your life very simply. Maybe meditate for 5 minutes a day. Change what you eat. Try not to eat too much sugar. Makes you very lethargic. Or too much spicy food. Very rajasic. Subtle. Plain bread, for instance. Your system, it calms your system. Think of your digestive tract and your stomach as part of the system that you can use to help benefit your life. And think of people that you're around as something that you could use to benefit your life. Be around beneficial people. Talk to beneficial people. Don't expect your circumstances to change no matter how smart you are or no matter how much you've learned or experienced if you do not change some basic elements of your life. This is a hard lesson to learn, and I have not learned it fully. I've only learned it a little bit. Do not expect experience to carry you. You have to make choices based on these experiences. Wisdom is different than intelligence, and wisdom, there's two parts to wisdom. It's experience, but also it's acting, and acting in ways that actually change things for you. And if you act in ways that actually change things for you, then that's when wisdom, has its other half. Experience, action. Make it come full circle in a positive way for you. The power of subtle. Become more subtle. Attune yourself to subtler energies by changing certain things in your life, And thinking about how these things work on a cosmic scale, think of the universe, the multiverse, as a vast body. And if you are filth or poison, it's going to digest you out, and it's not a great place to be in the lower bowels or being pooped out. But if you are poison, that's what the body does. It's where it places you. It doesn't make you a part of the bones or the synapses or the blood. There's white blood cells that'll get you out of there if you're poison. So don't be poison. Make yourself more subtle. And you'll find that the universe kind of raises you up in remarkable ways, and you're able to see how you can raise yourself up, and they're one and the same. At any rate, this has been a video about attuning yourself to subtle energies and how powerful subtle really is. Thank you very much for watching. Like this video. Feel free to leave comments. Both those things help traffic to the channel, which I very much appreciate. Reaching more people, communicating with more spiritual people is a big part of what this is about. But yeah, and feel free to share this wherever you like. And if you want to become my patron on Patreon, shoot me $1 a month or more. Go to patreon.com at patreon.com/darkrealist, capital D, capital R. And I publish all my YouTube videos there, plus some extra stuff that I don't publish anywhere else. But mainly it's to bump me a few bucks if you really appreciate my content. So once again, patreon.com/darkrealist, capital D, capital R. If you're wondering about that name, it's an old pen name that I kind of got attached to. At any rate, thank you very much for watching, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day.